Let me just get the housework out of the way. Please consider supporting this channel, and please consider supporting the other channels, liking and subscribing to them as well. All right, so what has happened? Well, apparently DOA is declaring, and it's pretty straightforward, war on Streets LA. Now, I think we all knew there was trouble brewing between these two for a long time. But I will be honest, I thought with Jenna and Aaron, that would happen earlier in terms of a split emerging. But with DOA and Streets, I honestly thought they would wait a little bit longer because Streets, a while ago, seemed to say he spoke to DOA. Any public or private issues were dealt with, so they're both going to just move on. And it seemed for a while that that was DOA's attitude too. He didn't like exactly Streets' attitude of staying neutral from various controversies because Streets was very vocal in public. He didn't like what Aaron was up to. He didn't like what Nora was up to. He just found the whole thing very troublesome and problematic. And he's like, I'm just not going to get into that stuff. Please leave me out of it. I don't want any part of it. But Aaron kept trying to drag Streets into it. So now, ironically, Scott / DOA is very explicitly lumping Streets with Aaron, which before he didn't do that, but now he's saying that Streets is on Aaron's team. And let me just back up a step because there was something a little curious. In one of the recent videos, Aaron, in the midst of trying to attack Nora, I've covered that already if you're curious. I've had videos on that. So in the midst of attacking Nora and a few other people, he hinted at certain interviews he was going to do. And Aaron being Aaron, he kind of pretended, oh, I can't tell you guys. I can't. No, but I'll give you some hints. But he did say he was going to have an interview with Streets LA. And you're like, that was a little weird and curious because it just seemed that Streets was going to try to keep some distance between himself and Aaron. But it's like, okay, he'll talk to who he wants to talk to. I doubt that was the main reason, but I'm guessing that was another reason that DOA had for being very, very suspicious. So why is DOA now denouncing Streets? Well, before the issue was that Streets was not helping Jenna, not helping Liz, not helping him, not helping Lara with their issues with Aaron. And Streets was like, yeah, I'm not here for that. I don't really care about that stuff. He's not excusing Aaron. He's not defending what he did. But he's like, no. So DOA didn't like that attitude. So it's like, okay, fine. But that was one thing. But now, what are additional issues? Well, apparently, and again, I did double check this. DOA is right, but he's distorting things slightly. So one of the friends that Streets has is this character, Tony, and this is a real guy. Apparently, he does some editing and writing for these LA publications. And yes, Scientology, at least officially, likes the guy because they think he's fair-minded and takes both sides of the issue. And I've checked out what DOA was saying. It's kind of there, it's kind of not there. It's definitely a little weird and curious. What's stunning is that Streets and his fans in the comments were like, not denying this connection. They're saying, yeah, he knows Tony. He's spoken about it. So that was like really strange. It's like, this is pretty major accusation that Streets is a little too friendly to Scientology, which is definitely head scratching. And you're like, wait, huh? That's like, yeah, well, he knows this Tony guy and he gets along well with Scientology. And I'm like, that just sounds very strange and odd. But a lot of the fans of Streets are like, that's not untrue. That's true. So what DOA was saying was true. It was like, that's pretty shocking. I'm like, okay, because again, let's be honest, DOA will just make up stuff. And you're like, okay, well, I kind of see what you're saying, but there doesn't seem to be anything here. So because this Tony person is friendly with Streets, and as far as we know that Streets is friendly with him, something suspicious is happening. Now, of course, DOA is going to personalize things. Apparently, Tony was yelling at Lara, and that is not permitted. Queen Lara is Queen Laura, and we need to all bow to her. So it's like, okay, fine. So now it's this multiple issues that Laura or Lara feels disrespected. Streets is not doing anything. Scott doesn't like that. In addition, he's friendly with Tony, and that makes DOA more suspicious. And then he's wondering why Streets has had not a good record, but in terms of the swattings that were very pervasive in 2024, Streets seem to be pretty much immune. And there does seem to be cases where he was bullying. And again, now DOA is saying he didn't know. He clearly knew, he didn't care. He was bullying people like Zachary and Daniel from Salem and just terrorizing people within the movement. These are the protesters. These aren't Scientologists. He was just bullying around a lot of people publicly. And now DOA has a problem with that. Now that I found very ridiculous and hard to believe. DOA was well aware what Jessica and Streets was up to, so I'm not buying that part. But now he's pretending like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I will help these people now. And good on Daniel from Salem. He's like, nice invitation. Thanks, but no thanks. I'll just keep to myself. And there you go. But for the record, Streets has had some issues with swattings, but yes, it is weird that DOA had many, many swattings, but Streets had relatively few. So it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. But who knows? It could just be a coincidence. So for all these reasons and more, DOA now says that Streets is not a real activist. He's questioning Streets. He's even invoking Mike Rinder. Yes, that I'm not joking. The specter of Mike Rinder was brought up to notify Streets, like, listen, Rinder's final words is that Aaron is a parasite. But you're still going to be friendly with Aaron? What's going on, Streets? I'm having questions now. I'm wondering where you stand. So, yeah, okay. And apparently some people were telling me he already took down this video. But I listened, I swear, I did listen to all 50 minutes. Not all of it was about Streets. He's really calling out quite a few people, and some of them were just really confusing. I'm like, wait, what? And that's going to have to be a whole separate video because that's a lot of other worms he was unleashing. And I'm like, what exactly is the deal here? Again, it was going to be inevitable that they were going to clash because they're both grifters. So now I'm getting from all this, from the last couple of years of protest, that LA is huge. LA is massive. LA is a massive place. So I've mainly been on the East Coast. So I have no idea how huge LA is. So I think for a while it would have been fine. They just have, in terms of geography, because sometimes DOA goes out of town. So he's like, okay, fine, you get this part of the city, I get that part of the city, so on and so forth. But apparently now it's like, no, they just can't keep to their respective corners. Again, officially, Streets now is offering a conversation, but DOA is like, well, maybe I'll have a conversation, maybe I won't. Okay, that's curious. But again, I'm trying to be fair to both sides. So Streets at this point is saying, we can talk about it, and let's talk about it publicly to go through all these issues, and I'll answer the questions, and you'll answer some questions, and there we go. And DOA is like, well, maybe I'm going to do that, maybe not. But apparently he's going to go with the bullhorn and castigate and exile both Streets and Aaron as bad actors, as he infamously calls them. Well, looking at it, does he have a case? Well, it's definitely curious and weird that Streets has always kind of maintained a lot of distance from the SPTV people and ex-Scientologists. He will interact with them here and there, like Natalie, as well as Aaron, but he's been careful not to embed himself as closely, whereas DOA has. DOA is very close to Liz Ferris. He's very close to the cultology people. He's very close to all these major actors, and he brags about it in that video. But I'm like, that could be taken one of two ways, that he's bragging about how much control he has over these people, which, I don't know, just sounds like an echo chamber to me, but that's me. And I've always been suspicious of Streets myself. Now, at this point, we really don't know. I mean, who is Streets really working for? We just don't know. Is he independent? Is he working for the Scientologist? Is he working for the government? I would assume, if right now you'd have to ask me what my honest feelings are, I would assume he probably is working for the government. It does seem like he's more of an official person, that he's probably feeding the FBI a lot of information. And that's about it, because it's really hard to believe that he's doing all these protests, quote unquote protests, yelling and screaming at the police, and just normal people get a lot of harassment from the police just for that, but he's just walking around town free as a bird. And I'm like, that doesn't add up. So I'm guessing he probably has some official connections to the police and FBI. So a lot of this is play acting. But even if that were true, I mean, there's the same problem with DOA. It's like, who is DOA really working for? I don't think he's Scientology. I don't think he's OSA. He's way too chaotic for that. On the other hand, I don't think he's being fully honest there either. So it's kind of like both sides are very corrupt and very troublesome. But still, for a while, DOA was at least publicly respectful of streets. So this is really ratcheting things up out of seemingly nowhere. So I don't know. The best I can make out is that he is very sensitive about Lara. So if you say anything bad about Lara, he's going to get really angry with it quickly. Well, I'm very mixed on Lara, so I guess DOA and I are not going to be pen pals or friends because, yeah, I think Lara is very messed up herself. So I don't know. So I guess maybe privately Jessica and Streets were saying something about Lara, and it just got him really, really upset. And he's finally going public with this big issue that they have. Is it going to turn into a major war? Maybe not. I mean, they both want to make money at the end of the day, so maybe it'll be quelled. But at least officially for now, it's going to be some very tense times in the LA protest movement. Thank you for listening.